La Présidente.
Wait a few minutes. Good morning. We'll wait one more minute until the speakers enter the room.
Dobro jutro, pričekat ćemo minutu dok svi govornici ne uđu.
So the sitting is open.
Nastavljamo raspravu. Nekoliko priopćenja
in
s
relation
naše
to the
strane
decisions by several
vezano
committees
za odluke
to enter
nekoliko
into
odbora
interinstitutional
da uđu
negotiations
u
pursuant to Rule
međuinstitucijske
71,
pregovore
paragraph
sukladno
1,
članku
announced at the
71.
opening of our
stavku
session on
1.
Monday, the 17th of October.
Najavljujemo da
I have
je
received no request for a vote in Parliament by
sjednice
members or political groups reaching at least the medium threshold, so the committees may therefore start the negotiations. Now, first item on the agenda this morning is the Council and Commission statements, preparation of the European Council meeting of the 20th and the 21st October 2022. I start by giving the floor to the Minister for European Affairs of the Czech Republic on behalf of the Council, Mikolas Beck. Mikolas, you have the floor.
President Metsola, President von der Leyen, honourable members, tomorrow and Friday, leaders will meet in Brussels for the October European Council, starting with the usual exchange with European Parliament President Metsola. Leaders will discuss Russia's escalatory war of aggression against Ukraine and its consequences, including the situation in global food security or the impact on energy prices and on our economy. They will also address relations with China and with ASEAN. Less than 2 weeks ago, leaders met in Prague for an informal European Council meeting to discuss these topics and prepare the ground for the debates that will take place in Brussels this week. The steep increase in energy prices touches all European citizens and businesses and is therefore high on the agenda of the European Council. As we know, Russia is weaponizing energy in an attempt to weaken the resolve and economic power of the European Union. We will not let this happen. Building on their discussions in Prague, as well as yesterday's Commission proposal, leaders will speak a strong common European response to the high gas and electricity prices. There is a broad agreement on key areas of action to lower prices, but there are still some divergences on the how that will be for leaders to discuss. I can nonetheless already share some key messages. First, we will not allow Russia's weaponizing of energy to weaken the resolve and economic power of the EU. Second, key areas for action will include efforts to reduce demand, to ensure security of supply, and to lower energy prices. Leaders will also address the latest developments in Russia's escalating war of aggression against Ukraine, which is putting European and global peace and security at risk. This includes Russia's missile attacks against civilians and civilian infrastructure in Kiev and across Ukraine, its actions at Ukraine's Zaporizhia nuclear facility, and the illegal annexation by Russia of Ukraine's Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. Leaders will reiterate their unwavering support for Ukraine's independence, sovereignty and territorial integrity. Ukraine has the right to liberate and regain full control of all occupied territories within its internationally recognized borders. As already stated by leaders on the 30th of September, the European Council unequivocally condemns and rejects Russia's illegal annexation of Ukraine's Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions. The European Council will call for Russia to immediately, completely and unconditionally withdraw all of its troops and military equipment from the entire territory of Ukraine and refrain from hybrid attacks on Ukraine. There is growing evidence of war crimes committed in Ukraine. We have also seen the continuous destruction of civilian infrastructure in the country. These are gross violations of international law. Leaders are expected to call for holding Russia to account. As you know, the European Union will stand with Ukraine for as long as it takes. It will continue to provide political, military, financial and humanitarian support to Ukraine. Leaders are expected to call for the speedy adoption of the remaining €3 billion in microfinancial assistance for Ukraine. Ahead of the conference in Berlin on the 25th of October 2022, the European Council will discuss the governance and financing of reconstruction efforts. Russia's war of aggression has sparked a global food crisis, driving up world food and fertilizers prices. The EU will continue to facilitate the export of Ukrainian agricultural products via the EU solidarity lanes and global access to agricultural products and fertilizers for the countries most in need. The European Council will also discuss recent acts of sabotage against critical infrastructure, such as those against the Nord Stream pipelines. We will meet any deliberate disruption of critical infrastructure or other hybrid actions with a united and determined response and continue to strengthen our preparedness. Rising energy prices have a big economic impact on the EU. We are committed to coordinating closely our policy responses. Our priority is to protect the most vulnerable in our societies while preserving Europe's global competitiveness and maintaining the level playing field and the integrity of the single market. Another pressing crisis is climate change. The European Council will discuss preparations for the upcoming COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, and leaders are expected to stress the extreme urgency of strengthening the global response to address the climate emergency in the face of increasingly intense and frequent extreme weather events. Ahead of the 15th Conference of the Parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity in Montreal, the European Council will also call for the adoption of an ambitious, comprehensive and transformative post-2020 global biodiversity framework to halt and reverse biodiversity loss. In the field of external relations, leaders are expected to have a strategic discussion on China. They will also look ahead to the upcoming EU-ASEAN commemorative summit on the 14th of December, which will be an opportunity to further deepen the EU strategic partnership with ASEAN. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Beck. And now I invite the Commission President Ursula von der Leyen to take the floor.
Thank you, President Metsola, dear Roberta, dear Minister Beck, honourable members. Yesterday we saw again Russia's targeted attacks against civilian infrastructure, and this is marking a new chapter in an already very cruel war. The international order is very clear. These are war crimes. Targeted attacks on civilian infrastructure with the clear aim to cut off men, women, children of water, electricity and heating with the winter coming. These are acts of pure terror, and we have to call it as such. This is a moment to stay the course, and we will back Ukraine for as long as it takes. And we will protect Europeans from the other war that Putin is waging. This is his war on our energy. I know that Europeans are concerned about inflation, concerned about their energy bills, concerned about the winter. The best response to Putin's gas blackmail is European solidarity and European unity. And in this spirit, the Commission agreed yesterday on a strong legislative framework to address the energy crisis. So let me outline the main points to you. The first one is as logic as important. Instead of outbidding each other, Europeans should buy gas together. Very simple. So for this, we will purchase together gas at EU level. Aggregation of demand will be mandatory for at least 15% of the volumes needed to fill gas storages. And the companies involved may form a gas purchasing consortium. We do this because we've learned the lesson. We literally saw in August of this year, at the height of the filling season, how member states were outbidding each other and thus driving really up the prices. So we definitely can be smarter on that one. Pooling our demand is a must. My next point is about sharing gas in Europe. We know that some member states are more directly exposed than others to Russian gas. The situation is especially challenging for landlocked countries in Central Europe. But in the end, if you look at our single market with highly integrated supply chains, a disruption in one member state has a massive impact on all member states. So sharing gas is absolutely critical. Member states have already since 5 years an obligation under EU law to conclude solidarity agreements with their neighbours in a region where they are located. However, if you look at what has been concluded so far, of 40 possible solidarity agreements, only 6 have been concluded. So this is simply not enough in times of a crisis like this one. And this is why we will put in place default rules for member states. These rules will be binding as long as member states do not conclude individual solidarity agreement. Energy solidarity is a fundamental principle of our treaties, so let's bring that to life. It's very simple. Honourable members, these 3 measures, pooling, saving, sharing, will have a positive impact on the prices, but of course more needs to be done. More needs to be done to address the price spikes and to address the Russian manipulation of the energy market. Just to give you 2 figures, compared to last September, in September 2021, if we look now at September 2022, Russia has cut 80% of its pipeline gas supplies since then. But Europe has been able to compensate all that. We have diversified towards our trusted partners, like, for example, Norway and the United States. We have increased the savings, and it's good. We have in September a saving of minus 15%. We have filled our storages up to 92%. So we did not give in to this blackmail. We made it, and I think we can be proud of that. We resisted. That's important. But we also see that resisting the Russian energy coercion comes at a price. European families have seen their gas bills skyrocketing, and our companies are struggling to keep up competitiveness. It's not about the competitive in the single market only, that's also important, but it's also about the competitiveness globally that our companies are fighting for. You might recall that in March we proposed to Council the option to cap gas prices. At that time, this did not gain any traction, but today we're coming back to this. So what is the model? The current benchmark determining gas prices is TTF. TTF is only focused on pipeline gas. What we see now is that the market has really changed from pipeline gas market to LNG market. So we need a specific price benchmark for LNG. The Commission will now develop this complementary benchmark together with the European regulator, but this takes time. So in the meantime, as a stopgap measure, we will limit prices at TTF. We call this the market correction mechanism. Yesterday we proposed guiding principles as a first step, and on this basis We will prepare the operational mechanism in a second step. This is concerning the price cap at wholesale level. But gas also drives electricity prices up. And here the Iberian model comes into play. It really merits to be considered at EU level. There are still questions to be answered, but I want to leave no stone unturned. So let's face that, let's look at that, and let's work at that. Honourable members, we live in times of high economic uncertainty. And I am, as I said, concerned about the competitiveness of our economy, not only what the single market is concerned, but also what the global competitiveness of our economy is concerned. So, all our actions have to take this into account. All our actions have to take the competitiveness of our SMEs and our industry into account. And this includes that we will introduce a standard competitiveness check in our regulation. I think it is time to do that. In addition, we have to speed up investments all over Europe. And if I speak about investment, it's infrastructure, it is energy efficiency, and it is renewables. And this brings me to Repower EU. When we proposed Repower EU in March, keep in mind the situation was as such. There was a huge dependency of Russian gas. At that time, we anticipated that it would take several years to replace the Russian gas. Fact is, today, it took us 8 months only to replace 2/3. In other words, we have massively accelerated the diversification to other suppliers of gas from abroad. But this comes at a high price. So the actual solution to maintain our competitiveness is to invest into homegrown sources of energy, especially renewables, and that has to happen in all of Europe. However, only member states with sufficient fiscal space can undertake these critical investments. So this will inevitably unlevel the playing field of our single market. And therefore, we do not only need Repower EU now, so we have to accelerate it, but we have to boost it. We have to increase its firepower, and we will come with a proposal on that because it will give every member state the same opportunity to prepare for the future. This is not only about energy. This is about our global competitiveness, and it is about our sovereignty. Long live Europe. Many thanks.
Thank you very much. Commission President, I give the floor now to the group leaders, starting with the leader of the EPP group, Manfred Weber.
President Metsola, President von der Leyen, Mr. Beck. On Monday morning, Russia attacked Kiev again with nearly 30 drones, killing innocents, including a pregnant woman. This happened only days after Putin said there would be no more massive strikes on Ukraine. Not a day goes without terrible news and lies from Putin and his regime. Having all victims in mind, we are not getting tired in saying Putin is a war criminal, Putin must lose. And Europe will never stop supporting Ukraine, never. This message unites us. We know how to answer the military war against Ukraine. And the Ukrainian soldiers are the real heroes of today. So we have an answer to the military challenge, but let's be honest, we don't have currently a common understanding how to answer the energy war against the European Union. This week's European Council cannot anymore escape. We had a last summer, a Prague summit without conclusions, a lot of talks. Now we need solutions. And the list of challenges is obviously long. Our Commission President presented them. We have wasted already enough time. And after a summer of missed opportunities, we need now a winter of solutions, a winter of actions, and we need, first of all, a winter of solidarity. And we are CPP, we are asking for an ambitious approach. Energy was one of the founding elements of the European Union. Just think about the European coal and steel community and the European atomic energy community. For our founding fathers, de Gasperi, Schuman and Adenauer, it was crystal clear. Europe needs energy and only together we can make it. Is it easy? Was it easy for Adenauer and de Gasperi to combine coal industry? Not at all. It was historic what they did. And today, we are occupied by the details of the electricity market architecture. The French president tells us a gas connection to Spain is not necessary, and the German chancellor today is totally happy that he prolonged the work of one nuclear power plant for another 3 months. Wow, great result of the energy planning there. We risk to fail in the eyes of history, dear friends. Europe has much energy if we create a real energy union, and that's why my group is supporting the proposals from the European Commission. And I want to ask the European Socialists and Greens to help us, especially in Berlin. Remember the last big crisis, it was about COVID. Chancellor Merkel, EPP, made the proposal of a recovery plan together with other friends. She made a proposal together with the Commission to make a European procurement on vaccines. She did it the European way. And now, today, Chancellor Scholz and the German government are spending 200 billion euros without even asking and consulting the European Commission and the neighbours about the impact of this. Is this the European way? I would call it national ego trip if I see the results of this. Where is this European spirit of the Social Democrats and the Greens in Germany? We need a European answer. That is what we need. Europe needs more the Merkel approach and less the Scholz approach, if I may say it as an EPP speaker, more EPP and less socialists. And dear colleagues, let me also mention another undiscussed crisis in front of us. Europe again is challenged by migration. The Balkan route is open again. Until September 2022, Frontex averted more than 200,000 illegal entries in the territory of the European Union, half of them on the Western Balkan route. This is the highest figure since 2016, and we all know what happened in 2015 and 16. We must strengthen Frontex. The officers on the ground must know that we count on them, we support them, and we have to deliver on the legislative files. The Czech presidency, imagine for a second, the Czech presidency, after years of waiting for the Council, is now ready to start a trialogue. Council is ready for the trialogue on Eurodac, on other files, on the legislative thing, and we as Parliament are not capable to deliver for the moment. Due to, I must say, the ideological behaviour of some parts of this House, that we are not ready to even agree on very technical files like Eurodac. So, dear friends, if you want to stop populism, then we have to give a legislative answer on migration, and it's now the time to do so. And finally, a third point. Sometimes the European level is, I have to say this, too far away from our citizens. When we speak with SMEs currently, when we speak with our farmers, they have really a lot of pressure. Our farmers should produce food, should deliver food even on global level. Next year we will have even more problems. After the energy crisis, we will arrive to a food crisis. And the Commission, under the lead of Frans Timmermans, is now presenting new legislation, for example, on pesticides. And the impact assessment tells us that this will lead to 20% less food production in Europe. That is what the impact assessment tells us, which means that we have to import more food from Africa, from South America, on the cost of the most vulnerable. Shall we remind everyone that we are in war times, that the 24th of February something happens? Some commissioners behaving as nothing has happened. The machinery is simply continuing their work. And as EPP, we are asking really urgently for a legislative emergency break, for additional burden for our farmers and for our SMEs. But, Madam President, it is good that you postponed, for example, in the Commission work programme, the idea of a REACH revision. That is a good thing. We asked for this, and now it's part of the Commission work programme. But we as EPP, we think that is not enough. The Commission must understand that we are risking to lose our industry. We are in front of a recession, and that's why it's great that you expressed today that we have to care about competitiveness. We have to create jobs again in the European Union. Commission must act now. We must together act now. So let's go to Brussels today and tomorrow, and let's deliver binding energy solidarity, real energy market in Europe, and a moratorium for additional burden. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Weber. I give the floor next to the leader of the S&D Group, Irache García Pérez.
Gracias, Presidenta. Esta semana nos hemos vuelto a despertar horrorizados tras la incesante tormenta de misiles rusos que golpearon varias ciudades en Ucrania. Civiles inocentes asesinados en el centro de Kiev, misiles impactando en zonas infantiles, terror y sufrimiento. Ese es el verdadero rostro de la crueldad y el ensañamiento de Putin. Esta es su nueva estrategia de terror a la que no debemos acostumbrarnos. Estimados colegas, esta semana el Consejo Europeo deberá abordar muchas de las consecuencias y retos de esta guerra, que es también una ofensiva contra Europa. Una ofensiva chantajista que busca dividir a la ciudadanía, que quiere exasperarnos, amenazar a nuestra industria y sembrar el descontento social. La Unión Europea necesita una respuesta contundente, con medidas sociales reforzadas y un nuevo instrumento que proteja a los sectores más vulnerables, que les ayude a afrontar la alta inflación y el aumento del coste de la vida. Y por eso es necesario, además, que la Unión implemente un mecanismo de solidaridad para redistribuir los exorbitantes e injustos beneficios de las compañías energéticas y atajar esa inaceptable situación de especulación. Pero esto no será suficiente si no abordamos los precios energéticos o el aprovisionamiento de energía, porque para ganar esta guerra tenemos que progresar en la autonomía energética. Las medidas que ayer presentó la Comisión son positivas, pero poco ambiciosas. En primer lugar, hay que actuar rápidamente para desacoplar el precio del gas de la electricidad. La propia presidenta von der Leyen ha hablado de la excepción ibérica que puede ser extendida al conjunto de la Unión, pero debemos hacerlo de forma inmediata. En segundo lugar, hay que avanzar con determinación en topar los precios del gas importado. La propuesta presentada es insuficiente en el tiempo, 3 meses, e imprecisa en sus criterios. Y tercero, hay que establecer un mecanismo conjunto para la compra de energía más económica y el Parlamento Europeo ha de estar en esa negociación. No cabe la interpretación restrictiva del artículo 122, colegas. Es inaceptable. El Parlamento tiene que estar en las negociaciones y pedimos a la Comisión que rectifique